Salutations, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to RimWorld Ye Olde Knights, where today, baby, we are cooking some stew, we're running around the keep, we're doing what we normally do, we're surviving, and we're living that luxury nobility life. It is truly a bad and bougie lifestyle we live here at Rats Mountain in our ye olde keep with our pet rats, our lynx, our hoopstone ring, our blossom trees. If I must say so myself, we truly have it made. Life is so beautiful and wonderful here at Rats Mountain, in fact, that our colonist Lumi even decided to make a gorgeous little snowman just outside the doors of our great hall for us all to adore. I'm going to name this little guy Kevin. Hello, Kevin. Now, while Kevin burns to death out in the hot winter sun, we have business to attend to, we have armor to make, and we have ancient dangers to conquer. We have this ancient danger that's actually right outside our monument, just outside the base here. I was going to try and deconstruct the wall, but I thought maybe Lumi should use some grenades on it. And it's a good thing we did use grenades instead of deconstructing it, because there were a bunch of filthy inbred mechanoids hiding inside, just waiting on some fool to deconstruct the wall so they could stomp the shit out of him. Luckily for us, though, we were all armed to the teeth with all these foreign advanced weapons that we had found through our raids and whatnot from the other factions, and we made quick work of those filthy inbred robots, and they all perished. Now, all those robots didn't fall without injuring us. Many of us had some wounds and whatnot, so we all quickly rushed into our ye olde hospital to try and tend to ourselves with some herbal medicine. After that, we sent some people back out with King George and Queen Bousteau to open up some of those ancient cryosleep caskets. The people in the cryosleep caskets thought they were some tough SOBs, so King George whipped out his big, long sword and started stabbing them. We also found one of those old-timey crates, and they actually had a tech print for brain wiring on the inside. Our medieval mutton heads knew nothing of this technology, but maybe we could sell it or something, who knows. We began deconstructing the ancient danger to use it for something important, like, I don't know, a barn or something much more important than this. After some time, we finally recruited our prisoner named Oyster that had fallen near the keep not too long ago in a transport pod. After we recruited her, we also decided we should probably let her join our guild of Black Knights, so we had some nice armor created for her so she could join them in their ranks. I like to think of our little guild of Black Knights kind of as a little subdivision or team, kind of like SEAL Team 6 or something like that, even though most of them are just prisoners of war. During this part of the episode, we ended up going on a bit of a taming spree. We ended up taming another little black rat that I named Andy. If you'd like to know where the name Andy came from, it's a secret. Sometime later, we managed to tame our very first turkey. I would like to get plenty of turkeys and chickens and ducks for egg purposes. Now, this turkey's name was going to be Sansa. If you don't know where that's from, it's from Game of Thrones, you silly turkey. But, on a more serious note, we ended up having a part of a spaceship fall from nearby with a shit ton of scythers who were just very angry and had very sharp claws, and I guess they just wanted to murder us. So naturally, of course, before the angry inbred robots could wake up to try and murder us with their sharp claws, I moved a catapult nearby and started throwing some limestone chunks in it to start chucking at them on their heads. The chunks of rock I threw at the massive beings made of metal didn't really do much other than just put a few dents in them and really piss them off much more than they were. So we used our foreign advanced weapons as they came at us and just started blasting them. It took a while, but we finally blew through each and every scyther that we found. Every member of the colony, including the Black Knights Guild, came right at them. And then, after we murdered them all, we went straight up to the ship chunk and we all just started blasting it until it fell apart into tiny little pieces at our feet. And while we're on the topic of mechanoids, I noticed the mech cluster that had fallen last episode had killed a bunch of traders who were leaving our territory after, well, trading with us. I thought to myself, what kind of nobility would we be? What type of monarchy if the crown would allow its allies to be murdered by mechanoids on its own territory? I could not have this, so I sent all our nobles down to murder that filthy freaking mech cluster. Now that the mech cluster was taken care of, we could focus on more important things, like the fact that we don't have any horses in this colony, so we sent some nobles down to tame some for us. Of course, though, the mech hive disagreed with my previous actions of destroying the other mech cluster, so they sent another one right smack dab in the middle of our territory. I'm a bit sick of beating the shit out of Mechanoids today, so I'm gonna cut them some slack and let them stick around for a little while. Besides, we had more important things to focus on, like the fact that Whale had an infection in his torso from the previous battle with Mechanoids. Unfortunately, we were unable to beat the infection back, and Whale ended up becoming the first casualty of this series. Truly, the problem was none of our colonists had a good medical skill, so that's something we need to keep an eye out for in the future, and this is what I get for not getting someone with a good medical skill. I thought it fitting that we allow King George in his infinite wisdom to bury our new friend who was part of the Black Knights Guild, so we could give him a proper, honorable funeral. It was truly heartbreaking. We were all so sad that he had passed away from that infection. Of all the enemies, infection was what took him out. The funeral went well, the king said a few words, and everyone expressed their grief. After that, though, the queen even made a nice art sculpture to bring and lay at the foot of his tomb for him. Truly a fitting way to honor our dearly departed friend, who was also one of our best knights. And though it may seem kind of morbid, the very next day we ended up having Weave's birthday. Now, we were all still very sad, but we couldn't let Weaves just grieve on his birthday. We had to throw him quite the party. It was such a shindig indeed, the king even came into the Great Hall and began playing the harp. Now, if you've never heard King George play the harp, you should know that's better than any gift you could get. Some time later, I realized we had quite the stockpile of foreign advanced weapons that we could sell. So we sent out a small caravan full of weapons and whatnot to one of our neighboring allies to make a quick buck of silver or so. We would also be able to see if maybe they had some interesting weapons or really anything else that could help us advance our medieval kingdom. It took a while, but they finally made it there, and then they finally started selling off all the shit that they had packed into the Muffalo's saddlebags. Back at home, we were working on some beautiful, beautiful marble mosaic tiles for our tomb. That way, if anyone else passed away, they could join Whale in a beautiful crypt. Some time later, our trade caravan returned home with a beautiful throne that they had traded those weapons for from our allies. This God King throne would be perfect for our throne room to be. Naturally, of course, there was no more of a fitting place for the throne room than inside the mountain of the keep, so we had everyone begin digging that out, that way we could clear enough space to put in our throne. And of course, we would need enough room for the queen to have a small throne of her own, and also some benches and whatnot so our nobility could sit as we give speeches and make decisions on the realm and, things like that, of course. The next step for the throne room was to remove all the chunks from the pieces that we had mined out, of course. This would take a while, even with everyone working on it. They worked tirelessly, day, night, rain, or shine. Now, in the meantime, while we were working on the throne room, we had a large threat looming. We actually had a pretty large-sized raid from the filthy Empire faction of this planet, the False Empire, if I will. Now, we've handled raids like this before, but unfortunately for us, they had multiple people with power armor and shields and great machine gun weaponry and all other types of sorcery and advanced weapons that they have. So because of the ferocity of this raid from the Empire faction, I decided to try my hand with these odd metal catapults that we had taken from that previous siege to see if, were they worth keeping or even using. So we fired a few shots at them, and unfortunately we missed. I thought maybe we'd try a secondary shot to see if we could have any better luck there, but unfortunately that one ended up missing as well, which really sucked, but that was okay. I wasn't going to try and fire anymore, because if I'd done that, I was pretty sure that I would burn down the entire forest and all the wilderness creatures with it that we would be eating. So instead, I decided to go with the old tried and true method of having all of our nobility gather around the murder hallway, and that way as soon as they started stepping out into the mud, we would just start blasting them with these advanced weapons and kill them. Well, I mean, we would be killing the ones that actually made it out to the end of the murder hallway. The murder hallway, as its name may suggest, is actually very hard to make it out to the end of. But there's always a few stragglers in these groups since they have such wonderful armor and whatnot and shields and all that. And I will be honest with you, the ones that normally do make it out, even like 2 or 3 of them, are normally extremely difficult for us to kill since they are so skilled in combat and whatnot as well. Now 2 of them made it to the end of the murder hallway and quickly threw down some kind of sorcery bubble that would protect them from our firepower. Now they were pretty dumb though, because they immediately started trying to get away from their sorcery bubble that was protecting them. And it was because of their idiocy that we were able to turn them into Swiss cheese. We had another straggler that ran out of the murder hallway as soon as we opened up our side door, but she was unfortunately met with our black knights who quickly put her down like the dog that she was. There was one last surviving member of the raiding party who somehow didn't die in the murder hallway, and somehow we didn't catch them. They actually began running by the mech cluster, and I thought for sure they were going to die, but I forgot that the mech cluster was taking a little snooze at the time, so I guess the fool got away. And it looked like the colonists were even throwing a little bit of a party to celebrate the defeat of the false empire today. That night though, after everybody had partied their little asses off, we decided to go ahead and put the throne down in the throne room, officially making it a throne room technically. I even brought the king over to stand on the tallest steps of his throne, that way he could look down upon the throne room and just kind of get used to the view, because he would be seeing it a lot in the near future, of course. And might I just say, King George truly looks amazing on that throne. It suits him, doesn't it? I wanted to come to you at the end of this episode, and I wanted to go over some statistics of our characters and traits and all that wonderful stuff. This is going to take a while, but it's going to be a lot of fun. Oh look, it's Shark's birthday as well. That's exciting. So, we are going to start with George. We are going to go through George's bio. George has an 8 in melee and shooting. George is quite the cook. Now, I'm going to show you guys something actually real quick before I do that. And you're going to hate me for this, but I haven't set priorities by the number. I've only... I haven't done manual priorities. Alright, alright, let's not look at that. You guys are going to be pissed. Everybody's going to be pissed about that. It's alright, though. But George is our cook. George is okay at most things, medical, social, kinda, but George is our cook for the most part. That's mainly all he does, which is fine. He is the king, alright? He can do whatever he likes. Brex here, on the other hand, actually, I guess we could go through George's health as well. He doesn't really have anything except for the recent gunshots, and his traits, he's a gourmet and he's beautiful, obviously. Anyway, Brex here is industrious and tough, with a 13 in plants, quite the fighter as well. Fairly decent at most things, has a burning passion for cooking, so we should really let her try that at some point, but, you know, we really haven't, I guess, at any point. Burning passion for plants, mostly just a grower. Health-wise, no health conditions. Legue, I guess, has a left lung destroyed. I guess you guys have seen that already. Hopefully we can find something to replace this. I don't know. But Legue is a psychopath who is iron-willed with quite the shooting and melee. Really good construction and mining skill. Everything else extremely mediocre and or horrible, but quite the miner and constructor. And this is not what they started with, obviously. I should have went over these stats in that early, first few episodes, but here I am, 8 episodes in doing it, so it's better than nothing, though. Busto, quite the shooter, horrible melee, very good construction, very ass at mining, okay at cooking, I guess, plants, good, crafting, good, medical, okay, intellectual, very good. Psychically dull, iron-willed. Most of our starting characters have some really good traits. I done that on purpose, I believe. I think, obviously. Galro, amazing shot. I was going to say shooter. Shot. Pretty decent melee, I guess. Construction's okay. Plants are really good. Artistic, really good. Galro has a old gunshot in the torso and an alcohol tolerance. I don't think... Yeah, Busto doesn't have any health stuff. Our slave, Gaborka, has a really good construction skill and animal skill. That's a big part of why I originally enslaved her, as well as trying to make this filthy empire on this planet pay for their sins. There can only be one true empire, okay? The rest of them are peasants. We need to understand that. Lumi here, crazy good crafting skill, crazy good shooting skill, pretty good social, and that's about it. That's about all Lumi here has. Lumi is a body modder who's also a misogynist jogger. Newton is great memory, quick sleeper, bloodlust with 20 in intelligence. Or intellectual. I don't think Newton started with that. Obviously not. But Newton is at that point now. Decent social, I guess, and just some good fighting skills. Everybody has gut worms, but there's no real. I guess Lumi is missing the left kidney. No anything here on Kale, just psychite addiction. Kale is a misandrist. Oh, my bad. Maybe I said that earlier for... Who did I say that for? A misogynist? It's a misandrist, not a misogynist. Ah, I'm so embarrassing. So embarrassing. Anyways, Kale here, really good fighting skills. Doesn't really matter. She's a slave. She's not going to be fighting unless we just absolutely need her. Good with animals. Okay with cooking. That's about it. Shark. Really good melee. Decent plants. Okay mining. Okay construction. Slow learner. Psychopath. Steadfast. With no health conditions. Weaves has an iron skin gland. Weaves, if you remember, is the one that we captured, I think, last episode and imprisoned from the ancient complex. So, and that would also explain why Weaves is over 1,000 years old, over 1,500 years old, because he was in the cryo-sleep casket. Undergrounder, masochist, jealous, crazy good artistic skill, crafting skill, cooking skill, mining skill, and okay intellectual. Not much of a fighter, but that's alright. Weaves is also one of our Black Knights. I suppose Newton is technically as well. They have the same... Do they have the same? Yeah, they have that steel plate armor. I don't know really if I want to include Newton in our little Black Knight party here. Like the little, I guess, team, I guess you would say. Then we have Christina. Chemical interest, body modder, optimist. Really good with animals. Burning passion and melee, but is decent at it. That's about it. Not too great. Alcohol tolerance, and that's about it except for the gut worms. And last but not least, we have Oyster, who has lost her left ring finger that was shot off and has a bite scar on her torso. She's a slow poke, but is also beautiful. Pretty good in fighting skills, melee and shooting. Pretty good cooking skill. Everything else fairly mediocre, except for the things that she's just completely ass at. And there it is. There are our stats and traits of our characters. I hope you guys have enjoyed that little tidbit. I should have done this earlier on, so please accept my apology for not doing so. But I would like to thank you guys so much for watching this episode. You guys are absolutely wonderful, and I really appreciate all the support on the channel and on these videos and this series in general. Forgive me for how I sound currently. I kind of have a bit of a throat cold coming on with allergies and whatnot, so I sound absolutely dog shit. For the most part, as I always do, but today it's worse. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed. I do also want to mention, at the time of recording this, I don't know if I'm going to be making the episode. We currently have a poll going on the community tab to decide whether or not these guys are going to be using modern weapons or just medieval weapons. If you haven't voted on that, please make your voice heard and go vote on that. I may have already got all the votes I needed or wanted or whatever before this comes out, but if not, you should definitely go vote on that. Thank you guys, though, for watching. Have a great day. Goodbye, guys.